Well, what do you know? Well, what do you know? Wow, I'm seeing treachery I haven't seen in a long time. Treachery, treachery. All right. Looking at Facebook, I just went there for the first time today. And on the news feed, every single posting was about President Trump quitting, relinquishing, giving up, everything, every single one was an untrue, false assertion about what President Trump is doing, false about his status, false about the coup that has been organized against him. Absolutely false, every single one. All right, so I left some clarifying details, facts in each of them. But what this says is that social media is colluding with those who are driving this coup. Now, the coup operates at many levels. The counterfeit ballots, between 5 and 10 million counterfeit ballots that were mailed in as votes, but that didn't have the correct hatch mark and were mailed in by people who were not registered voters. That's one factor. The Dominion software that literally flipped millions and millions of votes from one candidate to the other candidate was another factor. The collusion of precinct workers in the battleground states with the coup is another factor, so that the election rigging was occurring at every level. Now, what is happening on Twitter is pitiful because it's just pot-shotting. It's just pot-shotting details here and there. There's a lawsuit here and a lawsuit there and a lawsuit here and a lawsuit there. And is the president going to give up? And when is the president-elect going to have his transition team? Which is nowhere near resolution. All right. The guy who's being pointed out as the president-elect has pending investigations against him for bribery, treason, and influence peddling. He never should have been allowed to even run as a candidate for office. He is so dishonest. He also puts his hands on children. That gives everybody the creeps. Okay, he had no business running, but the Democratic Party allowed it. All right, now I have a question for President Trump. You know, there was a group of people who approached President Trump before he was a candidate and offered him the opportunity to be president and straighten things out. But did they tell him at the time about the sedition and the coup that was in the works? Because they should have known about it. Why should they have known about it? Because it started a long time ago. All right. Remember, I told you my uncle, Eugene Dennis, was convicted under the Smith Act in the 1940s for advocating the overthrow of the government. Now, he was a Canadian citizen, not an American citizen. His wife was an American citizen. So we're not dealing with foreign immigrants coming here to just disrupt things. Yes, he was a Marxist. He was a Marxist like today. The Democratic Party is largely Marxist. Okay. Fabians, Marxist, Leninists, actual communists in their ranks. Okay. Now, if we go back to the 1970s, after Nixon left, under Gerald Ford, I guess. And there was a project under DARPA called Pegasus, which Donald Rumsfeld ran. And you can find out about this project Pegasus by searching on Andy Basiago. Barak Hussein Obama was involved in it. Laura Eisenhower was involved in it. and it had to do with the technology of the looking glass, which looked into the future and saw that a certain series of presidents was going to take office, and then they made sure that those people actually did take office. They were involved in the election process, and that was part of DARPA. All right, so the election rigging that has come to us now, which is total and at every level, began in the 70s with the Looking Glass and the DARPA Pegasus project. And so, of course, not only do the Democrats know that elections have been rigged since the 70s, but the Republican Party also knows that the elections have been rigged since the 70s. Now, rigging elections since the 70s is violating the Smith Act, which is the intention to overthrow the settled governance of the country. And so all along, Rumsfeld's little Pegasus project has been tweaking the election rigging to make sure that there was always only establishment candidates that got involved. Now, Trump is a dark horse, a wild card, and we don't know who sponsored him, who introduced him to the running of the Republican Party. But what I can say to you is notice how McConnell and Lindsey Graham are so quiet right now. They should be screaming bloody murder, but they're quiet. So they know something. They know something. And being an old horse, I know a few things myself. So the election rigging has been going on for a long time. And President Trump may or may not have been prepared for the realization that that is the case. And in fact, this coup brought on by the mainstream media, academia, and the political parties, and there goes my voice, is a direct assault on the Smith Act. And I hope that Rudy Giuliani, excuse me, will be tapped to go after it. This has been Emily Windsor Craig, and enough treachery already. Let's get serious. Thank you. Bye-bye.